In this video, we're going to take a look at the LVT Cup. The LVT Cup is based upon the Ryder Cup or President's Cup, and it was originally in GBVC, and I've kept a lot of the functionality that was there originally and just integrated it into the Links Virtual Tour. Now, you don't have to have a schedule or have already played some tournaments within a schedule in order to play the LVT Cup. It can be played at any time because it is not put into a schedule. So I've already created a tour here using the Legends roster, but I haven't created any schedule or anything like that or set up a season. So you can go ahead and play the LVT Cup, like I said, at any time. So we're going to go ahead and play the LVT Cup at this point. So when you click on the button, you're first going to have to select your course that you want to play it at. So let's say we pick Augusta, and you're just going to load up the rosters. Now, LVT Cup is not actually considered underway until you click on the Initialize button. So if I were to load up everything at this point, but then exit out, I'm going to have to start all over again and select the course because, again, it doesn't start until you click the Initialize button. So you get a message after loading up saying, select your visiting and host teams, set the difficulty, and then click on Initialize to start the LVT Cup. So like I said, if I clicked on exit at this point, I'll have to come all the way back in and pick the course again and start all over. So we're going to continue on at this point. And let's say we want the host team to be Europe and the visiting team to be Europe and the host team to be USA. Now, if I were to pick Europe down here, or like a USA Europe, it wouldn't allow me because you can't have Europe players playing against Europe players. So we're going to go like this. You come over here to difficulty, select your settings just like you would on a stroke play. You can set your settings for green hardness and speed for each day. So we're going to come back here and click on Initialize, which will actually start the LVT Cup. Now at this point, I'm ready to select the rosters for the visiting team and the host team. But let's say I exit out at this point. And then it'll take me back to the main screen. And let's say I want to come back in. Maybe it's the next day or something like that. So when it comes back in, we'll play. Now you get this message. I can either continue the competition where I left off, cancel the competition, which will just start it all over again, or maybe I actually clicked on that button by accident. I want to just go back to the main page. Well, we're going to continue at this point so we can move forward. So I've already clicked on Initialize. It thinks the competition is underway, and I have to select my rosters now. So we'll come over here to the tournament, and now you can pick certain people to make sure that they are on the team, just like you did in GBVC. Let's say I want to make sure Arnold Palmer is on the American team, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the same team also. I added my name as Mike Jones. Now, if I were to add a USA player, try to add them over here under the visiting team, Europe, I'll get an error message saying like Johnny Miller cannot play for the Europe team. He can only play for USA because he represents USA. And the same reason for like if I tried to put Nick Price on a USA team, it would not allow me unless I had ROW over here. Like if it was USA/ROW, that would be legit. Or Europe/ROW, that would be legit. But since I don't have ROW, rest of world anywhere, Nick Price would not be allowed to play in this LVT Cup. So I already picked Arnold Palmer myself. And on the Europe side, let's pick a couple people, make sure they're on there as well. Let's pick John Henry Taylor. And let's pick old Tom Morris. So we'll have a couple there. Now you're limited to 12. So if I try to pick more than 12, it's going to also give me an error message. Now the remaining players, like I picked 2 on each side, the remaining 10 on the Europe team, the remaining 10 can be done at random or by descending WGR order. Same thing on the USA team. So Europe, let's pick our 2 that we had, and then the other remaining are done by WGR order. So if we were to come over here and sort this by World Golf Ranking, you would see that we already selected old Tom Morris. Willie Park got brought in here. Henry Cotton got brought in here, top WGR. On the American side, we had myself and I believe Arnold Palmer. So the rest of them we'll pick at random. There was Mike Jones, Arnold Palmer, and the rest of the team was set up at random. Now I can exit out and come back in and allow me to continue just like we said before. But let's continue here. In the first day, we have 4-ball and aggregate. Day 2, 4-ball and aggregate. Day 3, singles. So in 4-ball aggregate, there's 4 teams of 2 that compete. And so you can actually assign players to the team, or you can let the computer randomly assign them. So let's say I want to play with Arnold Palmer in match 1 on day 1. Okay, and maybe we want to make sure, say, maybe Sam Snead plays in match 3, and he'll be playing with Ben Hogan in match 3. But let's say we picked here, let the computer just do everything at random here on the European team. You could actually probably want to do that first and see who's going to be playing in match 1. And then if you're down here, see who you want to play up against. So here in match 1, Arnold Palmer and Mike Jones is going to be playing against Henry Cotton and James Braid. And Ben Hogan and Sam Snead will be playing against Peter Oosterhuis and Willie Anderson. I need to fill in the rest here. It'll fill in the rest at random. If I try to put 3 players on team 1, I'll get an error message. Or if I try to put in a team number greater than 4, it'll also give error message as well. So we'll fill in the rest. So now we have our teams scheduled for day 1 4-ball. If I come over here to day 1, you see the teams are all lined up there. And we're ready to start the competition. So it's going to take a moment, but we're going to get the 4-ball scores. So this is going to get the AI golfers stroke scores and compute all of that for this tournament or this morning session. And then I'll have an opportunity to enter my scores for each hole as we go. Now, this one is 4-ball, so it's going to take the best score of the 4 players, and that person will win the hole. So as we see here, and this goes, hole by hole progression. So here we see Henry Cotton, James Baird, and then Arnold Palmer has his. Let's say I eagled the first hole, and so if we did that, see, we won the hole. So now we'll get the next score. And it does everybody's but mine. And we went on to hole 2. The next match started on hole 1. So let's say I've got a 6 then on this one. Then we halved it. So we're still 1 up because 5 and 5. Let's go to the next hole. And we got 4 and 4. Let's say I went 5 again. And we still have it because 4 and 4. And 4-ball score, 3, 3, 3, 3. Let's say I did a 3 and we halved it again. We're still 1 up. You can see the progression of the other matches as they go. So let's say in this one here then, okay, Henry Cotton, James Baird won. Let's say I got a 4, so that'll bring it back all square. Okay, so let's say, see, it's still all square. Let's say I birdied this hole. We're now 1 up. So let's continue on and finish out this match so you can see how this progresses. And I'm just going to enter, for simplicity's sake, a 4 for every hole. And we'll just see how it finishes up. Real quick here. And we're 2 up. We're still 2 up. We're 1 up. We're all square. Of course, if the match finishes all square, you have it. So let's see what we got coming up here. Not to 5. Okay, we'll go 4, 4, 4, and we'll say 4 here. So the European team won 1 up. This one was halved. This one finished 2 and 1. So if the match finishes early, it will not finish out the rest here. So we can continue on just getting the 4-ball scores for the rest. So we see at the end of the first day, Europe spanked our butts. They were up 3.5 to 1/2. And you can clear the scores and start all over if you want. And then on the second part of the first day, it's aggregate, adding up the 2s. But we haven't set the matches here, so we can go back to tournament. You can set these all out at the beginning or match by match. If I wanted to go here, aggregate, just let the computer pick everything. And let's go right here and pick everything. It's got Mike Jones, I'm not playing, so you can come back and reselect this if you want, if you don't like what the computer picked for you. So let's come back to day 1. We're down here on the bottom. Let's do the aggregate scores. It's got to compute everybody's at first. So it takes a moment. And then when it's done, since I'm not playing, all you have to do is click on getting the scores, and it'll go through each match and display the golfer's scores until all the matches are complete. So we already know that Europe is up 3.5 to 1/2, and already in the first match they're leading in one of them, and the rest of the matches are square. So if we just keep going through like this real quick, give me a moment here, we'll finish up the matches for the first day. Just going through like this, and we'll see what happens here. And we're coming up to the end there. The first match was 1 for the day, 3-2. Second match, Americans won 5-3. It updates the scores automatically. And then Americans won the third match, and then the fourth match of the day, Americans won. So we came back. Now we won 3 that day one aggregate to 1, and so the total score is 4.5 to 3.5 at the end of the first day. So you can come back here to the recap also sheet and see what happened on the first day, what the total is, and what each player's record is throughout the LVT competition. So we're ready to come back and do day 2. You go on and do everything just like you did with day 1. And then finally, on the singles, you put in numbers 1 through 12 and who's going to play against who, just like, what happens with the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup. And so day 3, you'd have all your singles matches, and everything goes on just like it did for day 1 and day 2. In each match, if you're playing, you put in your individual scores. If the AI are playing it, you just click on the single scores and get everything to where it's all done, that by the end of day 3, you will have your winner. It takes, if it's tied, then it'll just tell you it's tied, because we don't retain who had the previous year's cup. So you either have in this case, the host team winning or the visiting team winning. You'll have all the scores and the recap here. So then when you're done, all you have to do is just exit, which will take you back to the main screen. You can actually create a second tour or multiple tours and play the LVT Cup in each tour. So real quickly here, I'll show you. Let's just say we'll create a tour here called my LVT2 tour. We'll say Mike Jones again. And let's say this one's with the Champions Tour, okay? So let's go ahead and create the tour real quick. And then we'll show you the LVT Cup. LVT2 tour will have not started, but if we come back to the LVT tour, you'll see it's already in progress. So keep them separate. So once the tour is finished creating here, which takes a moment because we have more Champions Play Tour roster than we did Legends, so it'll take a little bit longer. And once it's complete there, then we'll be able to update the Champions Tour roster. So let's give it a moment. It's taking its time. So we're going to pause the video here and then pick it back up after the tour is created. Okay, the tour has been created. We're just going to keep the roster. It's updating the roster for the tour. And then we'll be able to go straight to the LVT Cup. So now I had 2 different tours, LVT and LVT Tour. So if we come to LVT2 Tour and we try to play the LVT Cup, you'll see it just starts all over from the beginning because it's separate from the LVT Tour Cup. So just like before, we have to pick the course and load up the roster. So we're just skipping at this point because we want to show that the LVT Tour versus LVT2 Tour have different LVT Cups. So we saw LVT Tour, LVT2 Tour, you had to select the course and it started from the beginning. The LVT Tour Cup, we were already under the competition and we can continue that. Remember, we had completed day 1 and we were ready to start the day 2 competition. So this will bring us back to where we were for that. And if we come over here to tournament, you'll see we're ready to start day 2. We completed day 1 and our recap, etc., just like we had before. So if I exit out, it'll take me back to the main menu again, and from there I can go on and for each tour, set schedules, play the tournaments in there, all the other things that you can do with LVT Tour, or come back, like I said, and play the LVT Cup for either tour that you would like. And that is the LVT Cup video.